Okay, it is Valentine's Day in 5 days' time, and I haven't got anything yet. So, I came up with the idea of making a rose out of metal, and I was thinking copper. So I had a quick look on YouTube to see what's been done out there already. There's actually quite a few people, so you can go and find other videos as well. However, I couldn't find a video that had the shape of rose I like, which is the Colombian tulip style rose. And using the methods which I wanted to use, because the ones that I wanted to use are a bit more the flowery type of rose. So I'm going to kind of take the best bits I think from the different videos, and hopefully we can make a decent looking rose at the end of it. So found some scrap copper for the stem. Now most people have used pipe. You basically cut it, slit it, open it up, and then get enough shape. But I'm not sure that's going to be big enough. Maybe it's the wrong size pipe, I don't know. I have got some more pipe, some more copper, sheet copper, which I was hoping not to use because that's for another project later. But we may have to do that. So I'm going to make a start. I'll try and get a bit more close up to show you what I'm doing and see how it goes. Okay, I've decided to do it one petal at a time because I haven't got enough metal, I don't think, to do doubles, which is what I was planning to do. Not a problem, it'll just be a bit more simple. Copper does work harder apparently as you work it. So I'm probably going to heat it up a little bit. So you heat it up till it's glowing, and you can let it go cool down naturally or quench it, whichever. It doesn't make much difference, but apparently quench it makes it a touch softer to work with. I'm just trying to flatten it as best as I can for now. I'm going to make a few of these, and I shall come back, start filming again, and get the marker pen out. So I've got my bits of copper. I've just annealed them all, got them nice and hot, and then quenched them. Idea now is I'm going to basically try and hammer them a touch thinner. I think it will possibly give it a bit of texture as well, which will look good. Unfortunately, I don't have many posh blacksmith's tools or anything. I haven't even got an anvil, so we've got the top of the gnarly vice or a random weight, which was resident of the garage when I moved into this house. So I'm going to start beating on these and see where we get to. I'm not sure if the camera can pick it up, but got the original thickness on the left and the one on the right, which has been hammered for a few minutes, and so it doesn't half in width, but there's a noticeable difference in how thick it is, but also how it feels. So hopefully it'll be a lot more workable now, because I'll have to start bending it and cutting it soon. So there we go, we have the start of what's going to be our petals. So they'll all be hammered and they've got a really nice texture down there now. So I could have probably saved myself some time by cutting the petals out first and then hammering it, but I'd say it was easy to do it this way, and also it doesn't alter the shape of the petals at all. It just gives me a bit more flexibility. But yeah, this would be a really nice texture to the petals, so it's not really smooth copper pipe. It should look a little bit more natural. Right, so I'm going to anneal these again, so they're easy to work with, and we'll start building the rows. Right, so before I start forming shapes and cutting things out, I wanted to give it a kind of a polish up and get the oxide off so they're nice and shiny again. Unfortunately, I did try a Scotch-Brite, and because it is kind of hammered and there's a lot of oxide on there, it doesn't easily come off. It's a bit of a task. So I'm going to try something else, a bit of an experiment, another chemical acid test. So I saw a video a while ago, and the guy was using lemon juice, white cider vinegar and salt, and he basically just mixed it together and it stripped straight off. It looked really good, assuming it was actually true. Now I don't have any lemons. If you watched my last video, I've got a big bag of citric acid, so I'll whack a bit of that in there into the warm water I've got in the bucket, mix some table salt in, and I don't have any white wine vinegar or cider vinegar, so I've got apple cider vinegar. I'm keeping the malt stuff for my chips. I know it's a bit brown, but it's vinegar, I'm sure it'll work. So we're going to whack it all in here and see what happens. If you want to know the quantities, so that much. Right, what should we stir it with? I didn't think of that. I think we need to stir it. Just to show it's not a trick if it comes out brilliant. It is working. Not as quick as the video I saw, but it is working. Let's get the Scotch-Brite in action as well. Oh, I'm going to smell like a chip shop now. Or a dodgy cider farm. Doing it well, that. I'm going to whack them all in. There. Right, there we go, that's 5 minutes. They're coming really well. So the oxide's literally just coming straight off. No effort at all. Scotch-Brite's a bit worn out, to be honest with you, because that's what I used previously. That's awesome. It works really well. It's not taking everything off, but I'm not actually too fussed about that because I don't want it all to be one colour. So a little bit of texture and shading in there will probably look better anyway. Okay, so I have my petals to be. They're not super clean, but will do for now. I've actually put some duct tape on all the jaws. I'm hoping it'll stop me getting nasty bite marks on there. I'm sure I'll get some marks, but I'm just trying to avoid the really hard, sharp lines. And the first petal I've drawn for the centre. I did it quite wide because I'm hoping to curl it and get a nice curl to the centre and hopefully compact. Used to have a set of cutters to do corners. I don't know how they've gone. Alright, let's see if we can curl it. I did make this earlier, so I've got a couple of profiles and all to work with, so hopefully I can use that to hammer shapes if I need to. Just going to see if we can actually twist it anyway. I was hoping I'd be able to do it by hand. But right, just clean it up on the grinding wheel, take the nasty edges off, and then see if we can solder it on. If you can see my breath, it's Arctic in here. Okay, petal number 2 cut out. Fold it, see if we can get it on. I'm going to try folding it around this time. Not sure if it'll work or not. If that fails, I'll start hammering. Bend first. Okay, so that kind of fits nicely around there. So I'm just going to take it off and put a bit of solder on. We'll put the next layer on. That'll do, pig, that'll do. A slight cock up. As I was doing the third petal yesterday, the entire head managed to fall off because I overheated the solder around it. So to rectify that, what I've done is effectively I got a small coil of waste copper, stuffed it in the end of the pipe, and it sticks out by about 10 mil. And then effectively this first petal that went on is now wedged on a pole. so in theory it shouldn't fall off again, even if I go a bit crazy with the heat. I've probably done the wrong thing, but I've cut a lot of shapes out all in one go, so I'm hoping they're all vaguely usable shapes or usable petals as such. In terms of cutting them out, it's a little bit tricky going around corners, especially with snips. You can get ones to go around corners, left and right-handed ones of these, versions of these. However, if you look at the teeth on it, well, it shouldn't be teeth, but the serrations on the blade, you do get marks as you're cutting out. So if you can afford a decent set of proper tin snips, I'll probably go with that. And at least when you cut in at least straight lines, you'll get no nasty edges. Also, it's pretty tricky as it does bend around and curl, so you have to grind that off on the grinder. But we're vaguely there. So I'm going to start working from right to left, small to big. I'll have to shape one each time, and then I'll probably just jump in as I've made the shape to show you where I've got to and how it fits on the rows, but not make you watch the whole process. Right, we're getting there slowly. I've got to say it's been a bit of a test of patience, because what you find is when it's on an angle, is a couple of times what's happened is the lower petals actually, because of the heat, dropped off. It's just really annoying when you get there. So what I've taken to doing is clamping it on with some mull grips, or adjustable pliers, whatever you call them. Mull grips where we come from, and that seems to work quite well. So basically I clamp the petal on, and then using another pair, ideally with a rounded bite to it, you can shape it around the base of the stem, around here, around here, and then solder it on while it's in place as it is right now. Let it cool, and fingers crossed when I take the mull grips off. Yeah, they're solid. It's all solid again. So there's a few layers in. I'm going to start dropping it down very slightly now and flaring out the petals a bit more for the next three or four layers. And also, because it's also quite flat at the bottom here, I want some shape, so I'll probably towards the later one start making them longer and bulling around to the bottom here to give it that kind of bulb shape. Okay, so this last little bit's proven to be quite tricky. I basically cut out some kind of apple shapes. The idea being you can shape it kind of bull bit and then flick over the tops as the top of the petals. And it's pretty tricky because you're effectively trying to fold it in two different ways, and it does fight against each other. I'll show you how this one vaguely fits on. That's intended to go something along those lines, give you kind of a bulb shape. However, I think this one's a little bit on the big side, so I'm hoping that this one, which is slightly smaller, when I've formed it, will go first, and then we can put this one after it. So to get the shape, basically, they call it a finishing hammer or what? If you've got any car body bits, did most of it using the rounded end on there rather than the ball peen. I found the ball peen a little bit on the sharp side and ended up putting dents in the metal where you don't really want it. So yeah, so most of it is obviously folded in there first, and then using the hole, I basically hammered around to get the round shape. It does need a bit more. There's a horrible fold I don't like, so I have to try and get that out. And I need to try and curve it slightly more depending on how the next one fits. I did also create this, which is just a bit of lino and some screws to give a soft bed because I don't have a sand sack or anything to hit against. It does work a bit, but I did find that just having a hole to say beat into works actually better. So we are nearly there. I created some guard petals around the bottom. Mostly that's to hide the holes and stuff around the bottom of the petals. So it's really hard to get it super tight at the bottom. I did create it in one piece, which I'll put a picture up. But it didn't look right. It just looked it elongated the rows a bit too much as well. So yeah, so just got one leaf left to go. So all I've done is cut it out. I used a chisel. Where is it? Nothing too special. Standard chisel. Just give it a light tapping and put the veins in there. I'm not sure if you can see that in the camera with the reflection or not. I'm going to solder it on, and pretty much done. And I'm just going to polish it all up, and hopefully it'll make it look nice. I know the leaves aren't the same shape, they're all the same size. I quite like that. There you go. Actually, I don't think I do like that small leaf. I think I'm going to make that leaf bigger again. Again? No, I'm just going to make it bigger. I don't like that. There we go. Just like magic. Funny, I saw it and I just didn't like it. Good intentions, but and I got two petals the same. I know they're a bit opposite now. I don't care, I'm leaving it hard enough. So I'm just going to try and polish it. I don't have any fancy tools to do that. So I'm just going to break out the Brasso and I'll try probably a Scotch-Brite and the Y-Wall, see which really gives the best results. I'm not too fussed about giving it a complete shine anyway. I kind of like a textured finish. So hopefully it'll be slightly darker in places and stuff. But I'll do that now. I shall come straight back. I think that'll be the last one then. We are done. So I'm not sure if you can see that, if it will focus or not. I'm quite chuffed with that for a first attempt. It's turned out really well. Yeah, pretty happy with that. A couple of things to note if you are going to do this. Get some decent shears. So the car ones with the serrated teeth make a bit of a mess of everything you cut. And it's hard to get tight jaws on it, so you tend to chop the copper quite easily. Solder. This is non-lead, really poorly flowing solder. I don't know if there's different grades or what, but I found this stuff not very good at all. I did, however, find some lead solder when we cleared out my granddad's coal house after 30 or 40 years, which is made of lead. So I'm probably poisoned now, and my balls will shrivel up. But at least when the Alzheimer's kick in, I'll not remember why my balls fell off in the first place, so I'm sure it's okay. And burners, that's a cooking one for £3. Get a decent burner. And I say, when you start getting the later petals on, you've got such a big chunk, such a heat sink, you struggle to get the heat in to melt the solder sometimes. So get yourself a decent mini solder blowtorch. And the last thing is bucket of juice. It's a good gimmick, but to be honest with you, it doesn't give you the finish that you want. So it brightens up when it goes dull from the dark brown to effectively a light brown. You don't get any shine. You only get that by giving it a good old rub and using elbow grease. So yeah, but we are now officially 7 minutes into Valentine's Day. Rock and roll.